going on, guys? Jared back here with another video. Today, guys, we're going breaking down my wrongful termination from Foundever. I'm going to be showing both sides, guys, so you guys will see what I was, we'll get to a moment what I was specifically fired. I'll show screenshots and stuff of their allegations, and then we'll get into my side, and I'll show basically my receipts as well for my stuff. I got receipts for them and receipts for me. So we're going to have a blast with today's episode. If you guys would like to see part 2 or more, like I would say it's like 4 times worse than anything you're going to hear me say in this video, of how they've treated and abused other employees and stuff like that. Basically, it's the last 2 to 3 months leading up to my termination, things that happened with myself, some of my coworkers and agents, other employees on the account were treated, and highly unethical stuff was done. Let me know if you'd like to see that in part 2. I was going to do that in this like in 2 videos, but it'd take like 2 hours, so I've tried to figure out just outline my termination in this video, and then I would do that if people were interested in that. With that being said, guys, please make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe for the YouTube algorithm. That really would help out the channel a lot. We're going to be doing a lot of other videos, but I figured I'd go and share my experience with my termination with Foundever, considering, I was with them. January 7th would have been 12 years that I'd been with the company, 7 of those years in a management level position. So I've been in a management position for a very long time, and of those 7 years, all of them were on, a few months. About six and a half of my management and tenure was with work at home specifically, because I did on-site and that. But no, I digress. So let's go ahead and dive into their side and why I was termed. So I was termed from, they pulled me on September the 5th because I was in OCP for the Liberty Mutual campaign, because I'd got my insurance license. They had pulled me for that because I had spent too much time off the phone that day on offline aux. So what had happened was my kitty cats were making noise, so I was afraid. It was the first day of OCP2, so I'm like, and it was the only day that it happened as well. But basically, I had cats that are in a really giant cage, right? And I'm not the strongest guy, as you can see. There's 4 little kitty cats, a mama kitty cat, and where the cage was at, it needed to be moved, and it was taking too much to take them out of the cage and etc. It was just too much for me to deal with, and I'm not strong enough to move it. And that's why it took roughly about 23 minutes for me to move the cats. They took that as an act of me call avoiding, which is crazy. I've had no other issues prior with the company itself or even on this campaign, but they're like, oh, you're just call avoiding. Basically, that's what they later on. They didn't say that when they pulled me on the 5th, but they come back when they term me. They're, I guess, alleging that that's what they talked to me about on the 5th. But call avoiding or corrective action or termination never come up on the 5th, just to throw that in there already. And then on basically September the 11th, I was accused again of basically call avoiding for 48 minutes when I was actually in an end of day meeting. So basically, that's their story, guys. So just to recap, because I know it's all over the place. They fired me for they fired me for 23 minutes I missed on September the 5th because putting the cats outside, because afraid they would make noise and be an issue with the distraction-free policy. And then September the 11th, I was in a meeting that I was supposed to be in for OCP for end of day that we have every day. So that's their side of the story as to why I was fired. Pause the video whenever I'm doing these screenshots if you want to read them, because I'm just kind of going through things. So feel free to pause the video and read any of the screenshots. But let's go ahead and jump into my side of the story. So something I've already kind of mentioned, right? So for those days, I put the cats outside as I described before. That's not something we would pull someone for a call avoidance, especially as a first-time offender. Now, they could have asked, hey, what's going on? So then for September 11th, yet again, I was in a meeting. They know that I was in the meeting because the people that, they run the meeting, right? The person that sent out the email to, I'll show here the email, throw up screenshots as we go through this as well too. You guys can see the email that I've got fired. It mentions nothing with call avoidance, corrective action, termination, nothing like that. It's mentioned in the email. When I originally saw the email, I didn't take it as call avoidance or anything like that, other than, hey, they wanted me to use meeting aux, which on another side note, us coaches, we don't use like meeting aux, coaching aux, stuff like that, because we're management. All of that affects finances of the company, which is why I was put on that account in the first place, which is to help get the account performing, which is what I've done on many different accounts. I moved specifically over to help get performing. They're low performing on bill to pay, which is basically finances yet again. Making sure basically we're making money off the client to pay my management salary and to pay you, the employee. Well, the problem is that when we got moved over, they're in the mid-30s. That's like red danger zone, guys. Like, I don't even know how the account was even in business before I got there, to be honest. That's what I was moved over to help with, stuff like that, and their customer service, because their customer service skills sucked and they weren't doing anything about it, basically, long story short. This is essentially what happened. So just a quick dive deeply, basically how this should have been handled, right? So anytime that, for like something that happens with like call avoidance, stuff like that, there's certain processes we have to follow and things like that, and what is call avoidance. I'll put all the screenshots up here, but essentially we usually don't term someone for call avoidance unless they've got a history of doing it, right? Or they have an excessive doing 20 plus calls. That's instant term. We don't even need to issue corrective action. But I'll post it where you guys can see, and they have to pull you in person. Throughout the entire time this happened, outside of September 5th, I was never pulled. They didn't pull me until they turned me on September 18th, and that was until I reached out. And really, what I want to say here is, I really think what they were going to do, if I hadn't said anything, they would have let me kept my job to the end of the week and took phone calls for another week, because they thought I was an OCP for another week. So I think the only reason they fired me the 18th is because I said, hey, I'm done with training, guys. I'm ready to take back my team. Can I talk to Jamie? And they're like, oh yeah, sure, cool. Go ahead and do that. Chris needs to talk to him. All right, cool. So I figured they were going to move me over to the license side because they had already lost another manager over there. So it would have made sense for that. I didn't know I was fixing to be, fired, here in a few months. But that's essentially what they did to get rid of me. There was no prior communication. They never once said, anything, talked about corrective action, termination, or even accused me of call avoidance. So everything was just in a shock. I'll do another video on stuff like a lot of these topics we're talking in. I think they'd be very helpful for other people to handle a situation like this, like I did the probe, because I went in just asking probing questions to try and get out right. Because at this point, I've been fired for years. I know that, and the best is not to act emotionally and things like that. To control yourself and get as much info out of you can, like I did, until they keep stonewalling you, which is basically what they did because they knew that they were lying. So things like that. So kind of keep that in mind, guys. But that's basically, it for the most part. That's really like everything that they got rid of me for, which makes no sense, as you can tell by the evidence I provided, the aux reports and things like that I've showed up. Also, yet again, those 18 minutes, I was not even at work, guys. So the 48 minutes they claim is false itself, because I wasn't even at work. 30 minutes of that I was in the meeting, the 18 minutes was outside of work. So, and they don't articulate that anywhere when I was fired or to the unemployment office, which I pointed out to the unemployment office. I'll do another video on how to win your unemployment case, because I was able to win mine and prove that I was wrongfully terminated from the company, because what they termed me for, the state of Alabama will not pay unemployment for because of what that's considered to be. So the only reason I won my unemployment case is because I proved that I was wrongfully terminated from the company. But also, that being said too, guys, so when after all this happened, I was terminated. I went in and filed a complaint. So I want to talk about that here for a moment before we end. So I filed a complaint to HR. The problem is they had changed HR, and I did not know this prior to that, where it's outsourced now, so HR is worse than ever. So when you call HR and make like a complaint, the problem with making a complaint to HR is they go directly to operations. So let's say you have an issue with your manager. Let's say I'm your manager, you have a complaint with me. You go to HR, well, HR is going to send that to operations, and the operations is going to talk with the coach. So the coach is going to know. There's no anonymous to this. So the manager that your complaint on, they know you complained about them. So there's an issue like that in the workplace because they don't keep stuff like that private. Or they'll go ahead and talk to them and your manager and operations before you ever talk to HR. And that's the issue with my situation here. It's just he said versus she said, as we'll get into here in a second. So when I did that, I got no email, no phone call back, nothing. I'm like, all right, cool. All right, I've been here for I've been here for a hot minute, 12 years. So let's go ahead and go into that. So what I decided to do is let me go ahead and contact the ethics group. So I know how to file a complaint a little bit higher. Let's see if we can get get the ball rolling. So I filed an ethics complaint, outlined everything that like I've said, you guys want to see the other stuff. That's mostly what I put in this, and also my wrongful termination. So it was a lot of stuff. It took me 4 hours to write my complaint because of everything that happened. Like I said, it's taken me probably about 2 hours to do fully in a video, counting this video here. But yeah, so I went through, did that. They finally contacted me back like 2 months later after the end of the investigation process. And the HR director was like, well, Jeremy, we've seen the information you've provided and leadership, and we're going to go with, hey, you're going to be terminated for basically call avoiding. Basically, it said work avoiding, but that's basically what they were alluding to. Which is crazy, though, because, yet again, they provided no evidence. Because to say that I'm call avoiding, you would have to go and say that I'm not in the meeting. Because I can only be call avoiding if I'm not in the meeting. If I'm in the meeting, right, because that's telling people, like, hey, if you're in your schedule 101, you're in your team meeting, you're in a sales meeting, you're in a meeting with the client, you're call avoiding. That's essentially what they're saying by getting rid of me. No one wants to hold these people accountable. So I feel sorry for anyone that's on the Liberty Mutual campaign with Foundever, because the people are not very nice, and they're very shady and underhanded and backstab you, as you can see from my personal experience. They have no problem lying, making up stories, and falsifying information, as you guys can see by the receipts that I posted in this one. So please make sure you guys like, comment, and share. I really would appreciate it. This has been the worst moment of my, worst 3 to 4 months of my life. It's affected me mentally, emotionally, financially, pretty much everything. It's been very depressing. It's hard some days really even to get out of bed because right? It's against me as my character itself, what they're accusing me of doing. After all the hard work I do, why would I call avoid? I was only taking phone calls for 2 weeks and going back to managing a team. Who would be that stupid to call avoid when you have 2 weeks on the phone? And I took the 2 weeks on the phone that I was supposed to be there. So that's what's so crazy. Why? Like, that makes no sense. Like, I'm doing this for this and going back to managing my team. Who would do that? Why would I give up a job that I've had for 12 years and then yet again, the whole thing just makes no sense. Hopefully you guys can see this as we go through here. But by them doing this, guys, it's affected me that and also financially, because the way that they term me, not only do they try and keep me from getting my employment, which luckily I won, thank God, because I keep the receipts that I do have. But that'll do for this one, guys. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully I can find work, because this has been very impactful for me finding work, because I have to explain, hey, that I call avoided, and if you guys have been in customer service, you know it's one of the deadly sins of customer service. It's the worst thing you could get fired for customer service. It's making it harder for me to get jobs due to what their false allegations are. So it's keeping me from getting employment. So please share the video, guys. Please comment down below. At this point, there's nothing I can do. I've tried getting jobs. So far, I've been unsuccessful, and I feel like this is the main reason. And I shouldn't have to get for a job. I still should be employed there, right? But I'm going on a tangent, so I'll end it here, guys. You guys have a good night. Peace out.